On February 14th, 2000, 10-year-old Asha Degree simply walked away from home, vanished, and has never been found to this day. Welcome to Something Strange. Asha Degree was born on August 5th, 1990. Her parents were Harold and Aquila Degree, whom they both were married on Valentine's Day in 1988. Their son, O'Brien, was born a year later, and Asha was born in 1990. The Degrees raised both of their children in their house on Oak Crest Drive in a residential subdivision amidst a generally rural area north of Shelby, North Carolina, roughly on the western edge of the Charlotte metropolitan area. Both parents worked regular jobs nearby, and the children let themselves in after school normally, in which they would expect that they would either be doing their homework or finish it by the time they returned. And it also appeared that the children lived relatively sheltered lives, devoid of outside influences. They also did not have a computer inside their house as well. Regardless of their restrictions, Aquila said Asha handled this well, as she was cautious, shy, and content mostly to stay within the limits their parents set. She stated that she was scared to death of dogs, and she recalled years later that she never thought she would go out of the house. Asha was in 4th grade at nearby Falston Elementary School, going to a 3-day weekend on the second week of February 2000. The Cleveland County schools were closed on Friday, February 11th, while the Degrees still had to work. The children spent the day at their aunt's house in the same neighborhood from which they went to their youth basketball practice at school. And the following day, on Asha's basketball team, on which she was the star point guard, lost its first game of the season. Asha had fouled out. Her parents recalled that she was somewhat upset about this, crying along with their teammates afterwards, but seemed to have gotten over it and watched her brother's game afterwards. But it was on February 13th where events would take a turn for the worst. On February 13th, a Sunday, the children went to church from a relative's house and then returned home. Around 8 p.m. that night, both children went to bed in the room they shared. Almost an hour later, the power went out in the neighborhood after a nearby car accident. The power came back on at 12:30 a.m., at which time this is when Harold checked on his children and saw both Asha and O'Brien asleep in their beds. He checked again shortly before he went back to bed at 2:30 a.m. on February 14th, and again he saw them both. But it wasn't shortly after that O'Brien, at this point age 10, recalled hearing Asha's bed squeak. He didn't think anything of it, as he thought she was merely just changing positions in her bed. But apparently it was around this time that Asha got out of bed and she took a book bag she had previously packed with several sets of clothes and personal items and left the house. Between 3:45 and 4:15 a.m., a truck driver and a motorist saw her walking along Highway 18 wearing a long-sleeved white t-shirt and white pants just north of its junction with Highway 180. The motorist said that he turned his car around because he thought it was, quote, strange such a small child will be out by herself at this hour. He circled 3 times and saw Asha Degree run into the woods by the roadside and disappear. It was a rainy night, and the witness said that there was a storm raging when he saw her. County Sheriff Dan Crawford said, quote, we're pretty sure it was her, because the descriptions they gave are consistent with what we know she was wearing. He added that he also saw her at the same place, heading the same direction. Aquila awoke around 5:45 a.m. to get the children ready for school. On the morning of February 14th, an important day since it was not only Valentine's Day, but also the Degrees' wedding anniversary. And this usually involved drawing a bath for them because they had not been able to take one the night before due to the power outage. When she opened the children's room to wake them up before their 6:30 alarm and call them to the bath, O'Brien was in his bed. Asha was not. Aquila was unable to find her in the house or in the family cars. She told Harold she could not find their daughter. He suggested Asha might have gone over to his mother's house across the street. When Aquila called there, her sister-in-law said Asha was not there. Aquila then stated, quote, that's when I went into panic mode. I heard a car next door. I put shoes on and ran outside. Aquila called her mother and told her to call the police. By 6:40 a.m., the first police officers had arrived on the scene. Police dogs were called to the scene but could not pick up Asha's scent. Friends, family, and neighbors canceled their plans for the day to assist police in searching the vicinity, while the pastor of the church, along with the other area clergymen, came to the Degrees' home to support them. On February 15th, candy wrappers were found in a shed at a nearby business along the highway, roughly near where Asha had been seen running into the woods. Along with the wrappers were a pencil, marker, and a Mickey Mouse-shaped hair bow that were identified as belonging to her, and this was the only trace of her found during the initial search. On February 16th, Aquila realized that Asha's bedroom was missing her favorite clothing, including a pair of blue jeans with a red stripe. A week later, the search was called off after roughly 9,000 man-hours had been invested in a search of the 2 to 3 mile radius of where she had last been seen. Flyers had been posted all over the area, and 300 leads had been submitted that ranged from possible sightings to tips about abandoned houses and wells where Asha might have ended up. And County Sheriff Dan Crawford, quote, said, "We have never really had that first good substantial lead." At a news conference, he urged the media to keep the story alive. At the news conference on February 22nd, 2016, Dan Crawford said that he was going, quote, long range with the search for Asha. Both the FBI and North Carolina State Bureau of Investigation, SBI, got involved and put her on their respective databases of missing children. From Aquila's account of what Asha had taken with her, investigators believed she had planned and prepared for this departure over the several days preceding her disappearance. One SBI agent, Bart Urpo, quote, said, "She's not your typical runaway." Another expert, Ben Ermini of the National Center for Missing and Exploited Children, noted that most children who run away are at least 12 years old. An FBI agent also pointed to the lack of an issue she might have been running away from, such as a dysfunctional family or poor academic performance. But still, investigators believed that was the most likely explanation for her departure, but that for some reason, she either got off track or was abducted. The media attention did go national. A month after her disappearance, the Degree family appeared on the Montel Williams show to call attention to the case. America's Most Wanted and the Oprah Winfrey Show also devoted segments to it. Going back to August 3rd, 2001, Asha's book bag and other items were discovered during a construction project off Highway 18 in Burke County near Morgantown, roughly about 26 miles north of Shelby. It was wrapped in a plastic bag, and the worker who found it said the book bag contained Asha's name and phone number. The FBI took it to their headquarters for further forensic analysis, but the results from that testing have not been shared publicly. To this day, it is the last evidence found in the case. On the 20th anniversary of Asha's disappearance, the FBI confirmed that the book bag contained a copy of a Dr. Seuss book and a t-shirt depicting the band New Kids on the Block. Neither appeared to have been her property before they were found in her bag, and the book was from the library at her elementary school. To this day, the Degrees take steps to keep Asha's memory and the case alive in the public's mind. In 2008, they established a scholarship in her name for a deserving local student. They also host an annual walk to raise awareness and money to fund their search. Pictures of Asha, both real and those showing how she might appear in later years, created by investigators to help the search, still decorate the Degree house. Aquila states, quote, "I fully expect her to walk through the door." In February 2015, the FBI announced that FBI agents, Cleveland County Sheriff's Office investigators, and State Bureau of Investigation agents were re-examining the case and re-interviewing witnesses. They also announced a reward of up to $25,000 for information leading to the arrest and conviction of the person or persons responsible for her disappearance. The FBI announced 15 months later, in May of 2016, that their investigation of the case had turned up a possible new lead. They disclosed that Asha might have been seen getting into a dark green early 1970s Lincoln Continental Mark IV, or possibly a Ford Thunderbird from the same era, along Route 18, where she was last seen later that night. It was described as having rust around its wheel wells. Since September 2017, local agents and investigators have conducted approximately 300 interviews. In October 2018, the Cleveland County Sheriff's Office detectives appealed for any information from the public about the two items of interest that were found in Degree's book bag, the Dr. Seuss book and the New Kids on the Block concert t-shirt. Most recently, In November 2020, an inmate named Marcus Mellon, who was convicted of sex crimes against children in 2014, wrote a letter to the Shelby Star claiming that Degree was murdered and he knows where to find her. In February 2021, Cleveland County Sheriff Alan Norman announced that Mellon's claims had led to another dead end. So what are your thoughts on this strange disappearance of Asha Degree? Was she abducted, or why did she run away from home to begin with? Please let me know what you think in the comments below, and please subscribe for future content and to help grow this channel.